Greetings, Culture Warriors. It is Jeff Vieira, author of Culture is Everything, and your host for this latest dispatch from the front. Sad story today. Economic times continue to be hard. This is from Microsoft News. This is pertaining to the state of Massachusetts, I believe, here. But it says 3,600 of the state's 16,000 restaurants likely closed for good, group says. So that's just shy of 25%. The fallout from the coronavirus continues to take its toll on the restaurant industry in Massachusetts. While outdoor dining is a savior for many, the Mass Restaurant Association predicts 3,600 of the state's 16,000 restaurants are likely closed for good. Lawmakers are trying to help by delaying the meal tax due to the state this week until the fall. Restaurants are hoping a proposal to serve mixed drinks to go also gets approved. Restaurants have lost more than $5 billion in revenue due to the pandemic. Thousands of restaurant employees are still out of work. Okay, well, it's mighty big of the state to defer its meal tax revenue, given that it was the state who insisted on the shutdown. And so the state has essentially taxed 3,600 restaurants out of business. This policy of lockdown, combined with the policy of social distancing, has made these businesses untenable as going concerns. And it's thrown their employees out on the street. That's the only way I think you can really look at this. What we have done in this pandemic was absolutely unprecedented in human history. In every other case, every plague, every viral pandemic we've had, we have identified the populations that were at risk and quarantined them along with those who are infected. So if you have the disease, we would set up a quarantine. And if you were subject to the disease, you would self-quarantine. Obviously not in the same areas, unless you were in New York in a nursing home and Andrew Cuomo decided to fill your nursing home with infected people. Another unprecedented debacle. Instead, in this case, we decided to quarantine the healthy. And we destroyed every industry which involved any concentration of people. We did so for this 6 feet of space, 2 meters in Europe, which is interesting because 6 feet and 2 meters, of course, are not the same. There's a difference there. And there's no scientific basis for any of it. None. In fact, as the data has come in, we found, thank the Lord, that the coronavirus, COVID-19, the Wuhan virus, is nowhere near as lethal as initially feared. Indeed, the average age for those dying from this disease in the United States of America is higher than the average life expectancy. And yet, we've really done a number on the economy. Mind you, in the wake of the George Floyd killing and the attendant riots where looters and rioters weren't maintaining social distance, we continue to, in many states, require these restaurants to maintain social distancing to their detriment. Remember, restaurants are low-margin businesses. And they rely on being able to pack their tables and turn them quickly in order to survive as a business. When you say you can only have 10% of your normal capacity, well, that really puts a hurting on their ability to maintain their business. Landlords don't tend to much care whether there's a restaurant in that storefront or something else. And so they've had precious little incentive to waive rent. Aside from the fact they have to get another business in there, and geez, the economy is so terrible at the moment that it's hard to think that you'll have anything but someone just not paying the bill for a considerable amount of time if you decide to throw the restaurant out. But we have to decide what we value in this situation. After so many weeks of being placed under house arrest by the state, people would like to have a nice meal out. People like to be around other people and to have their cares lifted just a little bit. My own family, we have supported a couple of local restaurants by taking advantage of their takeout service during this pandemic, just to try to help them stay afloat. Don't have the money to do it right now. I'm out of work myself. But you try and do what you can to help out the community when you can. It would be nice at some point to be able to take my family, there's 6 of us, and actually sit at a table together and eat in a restaurant. Would be nice. We value those kind of experiences. In fact, in the midst of this, we took a trip. We drove some 6-7 hours to South Dakota, which is a free state, no lockdown, and we were able to actually have that experience, and it was wonderful. There are many other people who would welcome the full opening of the restaurant industry. In addition to having a much needed mental health break and getting some entertainment and being able to be around people again, this would also buoy the economy, help people get back to work, and return to some semblance of normalcy. If you're worried about the disease spreading, my friends, then you should think about all those people who are out in the street with the bricks and with the torches and targeting policemen, all packed in without any masks, doing whatever they felt like doing. You should think about those pictures of George Floyd's funeral, which so many people packed in attendance for it. And you should ask yourself, what good is punishing the restaurant industry going to do now? What good will it do? The only course of action which makes any sense at all to us, given the data that we have at this point, is to continue as normal, quarantine those most vulnerable to this disease, which is the very old and those with breathing comorbidities in particular, and let the rest of us get back to work as normal. As we develop herd immunity against this thing, then it will just die out like every other virus dies out. But this nonsense of pretending that we are under assault from a cold virus and destroying the lives and livelihoods of so many Americans, all so that a certain segment of the population can feel like they're on top. That's really what it comes down to. Their value of needing to lord it over the rest of us is supreme to them. All of our values of being able to attend religious services, of being able to be with family, of being able to enjoy an evening in a restaurant or at the movies, to be able to go to work. Our values don't matter a bit to these people. They've been given a name. They're called Karen. The professional scolds who try to stoke the fears so that they can maintain their position as community safety patrol. Well, it's time that we exerted our preference for our values and put a stop to this nonsense for good and all. And if we do so, maybe, just maybe, some of those 3,600 restaurants in Massachusetts will make it. And maybe some of the people who work there will be able to provide for their families. And maybe, just maybe, in the end, the state of Massachusetts, which very much values its tax revenue, can get their piece of the pie because there's a pie to be cut up. You know, my friends, at the end of the day, fear is one thing, but culture is everything. Have a great day.